Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV and Radio, where wisdom meets experience. Join a dynamic lineup of thought leaders, professionals, and changemakers from around the world. Dr. Madeline Chan from the UK, Mariska Dupreya from Australia, Red O'Loughlin from Texas, USA, Carolyn Heward from the UK, Zunette Lub from Cape Town, South Africa, as they share expert insights, personal journeys, and impactful strategies for success. Talking Heads isn't just a show, it's a global stage for education, collaboration, and inspiration. So elevate your knowledge, expand your perspective, engage in conversations that matter. Streaming globally, empowering locally, this is Talking Heads, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Howdy, Red O'Loughlin here. We're on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I've always had a fascination with longevity, age-related things. Just had my birthday, just turned 79, just literally last week. And there are things that we can do to make us look better, feel better, act better. But it just seems like over time, age just creeps up on us and things happen. I've written several dozen articles on Alzheimer's on my website. I have over a dozen on Parkinson's, and I actually wrote a book on Alzheimer's, but I'm giving a lot of serious thought to writing a book on Parkinson's. So I pulled out some stuff and said, well, let me do a deep dive into AI and see what's there, and maybe there's something new that I don't know about, or anyway. So today's topic is on Parkinson's, and we're going to learn a little bit about the causes and prevention and triggers and treatments and things. So let me get my slides loaded up here, and we'll be ready to start. Okay. All our shows here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network are for awareness and education. They're all live stream. It's not a podcast. I make an error. It's an error. It's there forever. But we're seen on many, many channels. Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, a couple different YouTube channels, Android TV, Apple TV, a lot of social media. I have 2 simulcasts going on my Facebook channels, and more. There's a lot of podcasts that actually do occur after the fact from an audio perspective. I can be found on my website, redolaughlin.com, red like the color, R-E-D, O'Loughlin, O-L-A-U-G-H. L-I-N, redolaughlin.com. My books can be found there and all my contact information. Parkinson's, prevention, triggers, treatment, causes. That's my topic for today. The live show that you're watching right now is found on USA Global TV and Radio, along with the other ones that I mentioned. But the archives, you can do a search for any show that I've done in the past. I also have archived shows on my website. I'm a researcher, never been in the medical or pharmaceutical field in my life. I just fell in love with chemistry way back when. I got a degree in it. I got 4 additional degrees in other topics not related to chemistry, a bunch of professional certifications. Spent over 30 years in the Navy, retired as a captain, flew for 16 years, been to over 60 countries. I study, I research, I want to know the answers. What causes things to happen? And what can you do about it? If something is caused and there's nothing I can do about it, well, why worry about it? But what if I can speed it up? What if I can slow it down? So in other words, I look for what causes things to happen. Today we'll be talking about Parkinson's. There are several causes. Some of those causes we have some level of control over. But when we get a medicine, the medicine treats the symptoms, but the cause is still undergoing, not been touched. Been married 57 years, couple kids, 3 grandkids, and 1 great-grandson just about a year and a half now. Uh, Best-selling author, written 6 books, independent publisher, published books for about 50, I published about 50 books for other people. Distinguished Toastmaster, I've written over 1,000 articles on LinkedIn, most of them dealing with some aspect of health and wellness. Again, my program's for educational purposes only. If I tell you something on this show and it sounds like something you want to do, don't do it. Go talk to somebody who's, your doctor, your pharmacist. Talk to somebody who understands your health, your wellness state, what medicines you're taking, if you're taking, before you just willy-nilly just start doing something. Last year, I was rated number 2 and number 6 in the TV host business here on USA Global. And for the first 6 months of this year, I was the number 1 host. So let's get into our show. Parkinson's disease, prevention, triggers, causes, prevention. My book, The Joy of Ageless Health, goes into the primary causes of how disease gets going in the body at the cellular level. A lot of it's similar. We don't go a whole lot in the book into brain related stuff, but there's a lot of stuff in there that's very valuable. What's Parkinson's? It's a progressive disease. It falls under the general category of dementia. It's the second most common kind of dementia following Alzheimer's. And just like anything else, there's several different kinds of Alzheimer's, just a couple, 3 different kinds of Parkinson's. But it deals with movement, with balance, with coordination. There's more than that, but that's the main one. You usually see somebody with a little tremor. That is a typical symptom of Alzheimer's. Although not directly fatal, but if you start having problems and you're unable to swallow, if you're subject to falling, easier to catch pneumonia. There are other things that can complicate your life and reduce your risk of your longevity. Technically, if you look it up, it says Parkinson's is the progressive degeneration of the dopaminergic neurons in the substantia nigra in your brain. So that's the part up here. So if I'm looking at it, what are the causes? I'm listing these by number. One of the causes, not the number one, but one cause is at the cellular level. There's a particular protein, the alpha-synuclein. And this, when they aggregate, just like you hear plaques for Alzheimer's, you get this aggregation of these misfolded proteins. And they're basically from Lewy bodies. I'll go into that Lewy bodies down the road. But we have a certain amount of formation of proteins. And sometimes over time they fold the wrong way. And when that happens, we have functions in the body that handle that. Just a normal immune function. We have quality control functions. We have things that take care of that. But sometimes we get overwhelmed and we don't have enough protective mechanisms there. And when we start getting a lot of these aggregates, it becomes toxic to our neurons, causes mitochondrial function to fail. So we start losing the mitochondrial energy levels. And then we start ending up with dysfunction and a lot of problems from that, cellular death. So if I start having mitochondrial problems, I've talked about mitochondria for quite a while now. If you take care of your mitochondria, you're probably going to be in pretty good health for a long time. But if the mitochondria in your cell starts to have a problem with its normal function because of a number of things, and in this particular disease, Parkinson's, it causes a mitochondrial dysfunction. So we end up with less ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy producer. We also get an increase in what's called reactive oxygen species or oxidative stress. And so we end up with less energy and more neuronal death. The neurons actually die. Along with that increase in that reactive oxygen species, oxidative stress occurs. If I look at any disease, regardless of where it's at in the body, generally speaking, I'm looking at low-level cellular inflammation that's chronic, that's there over time. My body just doesn't get rid of it. Mutations occur. The immune system can't take care of those mutations. And that inflammation gets to a point where it's beyond controlling it at the cellular level. Now I start getting oxidative stress, and that starts a particular disease process in the body. So if I can control the oxidative stress and the inflammation, which I can do pretty much with diet and some other things, then I have some level of control. But if that oxidative stress gets too great and I can't handle it, now I start ending up with damaged proteins, damaged lipids. My DNA is no longer being able to be fixed by my immune system. So this damage triggers what's called apoptosis. Apoptosis normally is a programmed cell death. I have a cell that gets to the end of its life. Thank you very much. End of story. Cell dies, is eliminated from the body, and that's the way we work. However, sometimes the cells don't die; they're just there. They're called zombie cells, and they actually create a problem. Our immune system can get rid of some of them, but sometimes they get overwhelmed. But if I start triggering the apoptosis, in other words, this programmed cell death earlier than it should be, then I start causing problems. And again, we're in the brain. The dopaminergic neurons in our brain, which controls our movement, our motivation, our rewards, our pleasure, a lot of things in there with these neurons. So if I start triggering these things to die earlier, now I start having a problem with having the right amount of neurons to be human. I can also end up with neuroinflammatory actions in the immune system in my brain. So I got immune cells up here in my brain. They're called microglial, and they're normally at rest. They're just sitting there. They're looking around. They're making sure everything. But if something happens, I have an injury. Pathogens get through my blood-brain barrier. I get various stressors. This microglial gets activated, even though it's not supposed to be. It's there at rest. But I start ending up with a lot of damage to my neurons caused by chronic inflammation, other things. So I get this inflammation in my brain that my immune system can't handle. And so that's part of it. That's another cause. I also have, in addition to just having the misfolding of the proteins, I can have the protein actually degrade at a what they call impaired. It's not a programmed way of doing things. So I end up having a lot of problems. A UPS, it's a ubiquitin proteasome system failure. And I equate it to, I call it also known as, autophagy dysfunction. If I have autophagy, let's say I fast and I'm 2 days into my fast, my autophagy system in my body is going through, it's cleaning out all the cells, it's recycling things. It's basically renovating my body cell by cell by cell. It starts at about 16, 18 hours of fasting and is 100% at about 72 hours of fasting. And so if I have my autophagy working fine, all my cells are cleaned up after 3-4 days, boom, I get a pretty clean body, brand new immune system. Everything is working really, really well. But if my autophagy is not working properly, it's dysfunctioning, I can't get rid of that cellular trash. I can't recycle the stuff that's damaged. Now I start accumulating toxic aggregates, plaques, whatever you want to call it, inside my cells, and it disrupts a lot of things. Calcium, one of those things that's normally throughout the whole body, and in normal, stable conditions, it's maintained. It's called homeostasis, and that stasis is there. But sometimes that gets disrupted by a number of things, like cytotoxicity, toxins. And when we start having that, it overloads my mitochondria. I start getting what they call excess or toxic glutamates. And it's not only in Parkinson's, but people with strokes, head trauma, neurodegenerative diseases other than Parkinson's have these same kinds of glutamates that are accumulating. And so when you start having that, the cells can't produce the energy, the adipine triphosphate, the reactive oxygen species, the oxidation rises, and we start ending up with cell death. So if the calcium is not maintained at the right level, it ends up in cells dying. Okay. And the one that kind of affects us, but not all of us, because genes affect us 5 to 10% of the time, but we have some level of control over that. But I listed 5 of them there that are particularly triggered as when they're mutated, that they cause a problem in the brain. And so I have these things called mitochondrial lysosomal proteins, and it's a QC system in the body. It just sits there and looks around, and just like the immune system. However, when I start seeing something mutated that is not being addressed by the immune system, this quality control system I have uh, detects it, repairs it, eliminates it, and gets rid of it. And when that's not working right, because these systems, the LRRK1, the Parkin, the pink one, et cetera, they're not working properly, just like I've talked about in the past with mTOR and AMPK and certain one and what we have certain pathways, certain things that happen. Well, if they're not working right, well, something else is going to happen. And so that's when we start having a problem because I'm not making the changes, the fixes, the repairs, getting rid of the damaged stuff that needs to be thrown out of the cell. And then we have what endoplastic reticulum, ER stress, and that's the misfolded protein. I have a response, but I get so many of them so quickly, I can't handle it. So when I start having that many, it triggers apoptosis. And again, before the cell is ready to die, it tells the cell, okay, go die. And the cell dies. And so we have a lot of problems. So those are 8 causes that they've known about right now in Parkinson's. And when you start looking at the first 3 of those that I talked about, they end up kind of in a spiral where they reinforce each other. And over time, they actually tend to make things a little worse. Now, mortality, if you're over 40, before 40, they say you got a good 30 years with Parkinson's without too much of a problem. If you're over 45, 50, probably 20 years. But again, depending on the treatment you're getting, you may have a lot more than that. But it's not a quality of life that you want, but there is something you can do to it. So, what accelerates or decelerates Parkinson's disease? Well, let's talk about what can accelerate the disease. Well, the number one is age. You get older, things happen. We have this thing called reduced proteostasis. In other words, our stability of our body systems degrade over time. And when that degrades, I start ending up with damaged, misfolded, or these plaques of proteins that are just sitting around and our body's not getting rid of them. Age. What can you do about it? Well, there are some things. If your autophagy system is working well, you're getting rid of some of them. If some of the other systems that handle the damage, our QC systems in our body, our immune system, there are things that we can do. But right now, that is one that will accelerate the Parkinson's disease left untreated. Our mitochondrial efficiency declines. We lose our energy. We're not feeling good, fatigued all the time. Our antioxidant defense, typically that we have at the cellular level, because the reactive oxygen species increase at such a rate, there's not much we can do. Cell damage occurs, and it's hard to fix that if the systems are not working. Environmental toxins. There are so many things. You put on underarm deodorant, shampoo, cream on your face, suntan lotion on. There are so many things we add to our body that have toxins in it. There's so many things we eat as part of our food that have toxins in them. There are preservatives, there's colorings, there's flavorings. Anyway, environmental toxins are all over the place. And when you start ingesting these or putting them on the body, especially with nanotechnology, it goes straight through the skin, right into the bloodstream. And so the reactive oxygen species increases, cell damage occurs. The alpha-synuclein aggregation starts to build up in the cells. We get the neurons that are becoming toxic. The cells are becoming damaged. Our mitochondria can't do its functions. A lot of things are happening that are not normal. And toxins are something that we can read labels and avoid a lot of them. So we do have some control over that. Chronic inflammation. Inflammation occurs 24/7 at the cellular level in the body. It never ends. And whether you're breathing, thinking, eating, exercising, that level of inflammation is constant. And if you're not eating the right kind of antioxidants, green leafy vegetables, for instance, colored fruits and vegetables, they provide the anti-inflammatory agents for the cellular level in the body to control that inflammation. left unchecked, that chronic low-level cellular inflammation becomes oxidative stress, which now becomes a major problem. So we're trying to control that. Uh, uh, Microglial activation results in what they call cytokine-mediated neuronal death. Okay, what does that really mean? Okay, I have a microglial that's basically an immune system in my brain, and it sits there and looks around and just kind of keeps an eye on everything. Normally it's at rest. It doesn't do anything other than monitor. But when it sees something wrong, it goes out there and attacks it, stops it, destroys it, whatever it may happen to do. It takes care of the body because that's its normal immune function. Otherwise, just like our regular immune system, until something enters the body that is hazardous to our health, it just is there. So if I can improve my immune system, I can improve not only the immune system of my body, but the immune system in my brain. A genetic predisposition. Well, some people are predisposed for Alzheimer's, breast cancer, gut cancer, a lot of things we have a predisposition for. Just because we have a predisposition doesn't mean that we get it. It just means that we're more at risk. So what can you do? Well, the things called lifestyle choices. You know, your diet, your exercise, your stress management, your sleep. A lot of things turn on or off the switches that are on the genes that are good or bad. But if I have this predisposition and I'm not doing epigenetically the things that I really need to do to keep my body healthy, I end up with excess mutations that now affect those immune systems in my brain that would control this out of control inflammation. Now I start having a problem. Okay, so what can I do to decelerate the progress of Parkinson's? Now, once you get it, it's kind of hard to say, yeah, I can get rid of it. But you can certainly put it on slow motion and actually have a pretty decent life. Lifestyle choices, LSC. These are, my quality of my sleep, my stress management, what I do for exercise, all of those things, the foods I eat, all of those are lifestyle choices. And if you were with me for my series on aging and on health, lifestyle choices, the things we do every day, are things that control our level of health all the way into retirement. So if I'm doing the right kinds of things, eating things, taking care of my sleep, etc., it's going to enhance what's called mitochondrial biogenesis. In other words, the ability of my body to create new mitochondria. So I have mitochondria that are growing up, getting old, and will eventually have problems and be destroyed, taken out of the cell, and new ones there. So I need to continually rebuild my mitochondrial. It enhances what I call BDNF, GDNF, neurotrophic factors. These are things that are good for the brain. These are growth factors that we use for our development, survival, the function of everything we're doing. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor is one. Hear that all the time. The glial-derived neurotrophic factor is another one. And these are just things that we do have control over to a certain level. So if I can take my daily foods that I eat, my sleep, my stress, etc., I have a lot of control over not only my body, but my brain too. I talked about the balanced nutrition, being able to get all the different kinds of minerals and vitamins and enzymes and proteins, etc. I need a level of balanced nutrition. That's what I eat. Lifestyle choices. So if I get enough, I can cancel out the inflammation. I can reduce the oxidative stress. So it goes through, and if I have reactive oxygen species starting to get out of control, and I'm taking my extra spinach and whatever else I might have, blueberries, and it goes down and actually scavenges this oxidative stress and maintains or reestablishes the stability and neutrality that I need in my body, my brain in particular, for Parkinson's. Topic very near and dear to my heart is caloric restriction and intermittent fasting. I typically do a 72 to 150 hour fast every month, and it's primarily to activate autophagy. You activate autophagy, you reduce inflammation, you clean out your cells, you recycle stuff that's bad, you get rid of the trash at the cellular level. Probably one of the best things you can do. Now, I understand some people can't fast. There are things that can be done. It's called FMC. Hang on. I'll think of it in a second. But there is a way of fooling the body by eating certain kinds of foods into thinking it's actually fasting. Fasting mimicking diet. As you do a Google search on that, you'll find out the things that you eat, but the body doesn't think it's really eating food, and you are. Uh, and so what I'm doing is I'm improving my mitochondrial function, which if you take care of any part of your body, the mitochondrial that's where everything's at. You have certain medications out there. They call them MAO inhibitors, dopaminergic agents. These increase the dopamine levels. Those are the things that control our motor skills. So if I have these MAO, monoamine oxidase B enzymes, they break down the dopamine. So I'm now having a problem with not maintaining a certain level. Well, if I can inhibit that MAOA and MAOB, but particularly the B, because that's the one that starts attacking the dopamine in our brain, which are neurotransmitters. So if I'm not getting my communications right in my brain, it starts affecting a lot of things. So I have the ability that certain medications, but I'm not a medication kind of guy. I like to look at what can I do naturally. So I look up MAO, natural options, and there are certain things, you go to your doctor, doctor's going to say, I have an obligation to treat you because I know you have a problem. Okay. But there are certain things you can do to help yourself. So medications can reduce the neuronal stress, the oxidative damage, but lifestyle choices, our foods, our stress management, quality of sleep can all do the same thing. They can slow down the progression of the things that are not good for us. So if I cannot reverse the cellular damage, maybe I can use a lot of the plant and animal and other herbal things as MAO inhibitors and work it just as if it were a regular medicine. So I can increase dopamine many, many ways. So if I happen to have a MAO operation going into my brain that's killing off dopamine, I have many ways of actually increasing dopamine to offset the damage that was done and the loss of those particular cells. So dopamine increases with sunlight, sleep, healthy diet, lifestyle choices, social interactions. Social interactions is not very well played up in a lot of treatment. Especially as you get older, that becomes a major portion of your health, your ability, your relations with others. Meditation, stress management, creativity activities. If you have a hobby, you're a content creator, you make videos, you do a lot of things. Dopamine also has a direct result. You achieve a goal, that builds up dopamine. There's certain supplements that will work as dopaminergic agents. CoQ10, omega-3s, pyrroloquinone, PQQ. That's one of my favorite supplements. Vitamin D3. There are things called gene therapies. Two particular ones I have there, the GDNF I mentioned earlier, and the LRK2. They are treatments that can be done, in which case, like say a stem cell therapy, it replaces some of those dopaminergic neurons in the brain through a stem cell therapy. But I can also do immunotherapy, which targets the alpha-synuclein, which reduces the number of aggregates of this protein plaque that starts developing in our cells. You have what's called exome-based delivery of neuroprotective compounds. What does that really mean? Okay, exomes are nanoparticles. They're tiny, tiny things. They pass through the blood-brain barrier. Our blood-brain barrier basically keeps out a lot of stuff out of the brain, but some things are very small and they get through. So if I have these exomes that are in my brain and they're just sitting there and they're protective agents, what can I do to basically activate them to make them do their job? And so that's one of the things that we have. I went back and looked. I have 16 articles I've written over the last several years. And I said, well, what do I have that maybe is also of some value? Well, as I started looking at it, I said, okay, fine, Parkinson's disease, PD. It usually happens because my immune system starts to wane a little bit. Well, I have control over my immune system to a degree. But when I have Parkinson's, my immune system is typically degraded. but I also end up with what's called a leaky blood-brain barrier. Just like in my gut, if I have a problem with autoimmune disease, my gut permeability or leaky gut is what is that functioning down here causing problems. So I end up with a leaky gut, immune system is degraded. I end up with a leaky blood-brain barrier, my immune system in my brain is degraded. So I need to focus on my immune system. How can I do that? I can make my blood-brain barrier. I avoid alcohol, gluten, sugar. Those are the big ones that have an effect not only on the gut but the brain too. I can increase my resveratrol. Resveratrol is a polyphenol, and it's one that is not very bioavailable in the body. But if you buy it as a pill form or as a capsule, make sure that you get it with piperine. It's black pepper extract. It makes it about 2,000% more bioavailable, 200 to 2,000%, depending which one. Curcumin and some other ones, you add the piperine to that, and it goes anywhere from 200 to 2,000% more bioavailable in the body. Sulforaphane, those are your cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli and cauliflower and stuff like that. Omega-3s and lifestyle choices. Those are all things that increase the blood-brain barrier. So if I'm looking to fight my inflammation, reduce my oxidative stress, again, primarily with diet, stress management and stuff with and the quality of my sleep, because my sleep determines how my body repairs itself. If I'm not getting good sleep, I start having a problem. Mushrooms, particularly lion's mane, but there's just a lot of stuff out there on mushrooms that increases the brain-derived neurotrophic factor along with lifestyle choices. Our mitochondrial health is improved by caloric restriction, generally about 30% fewer calories per day than one would normally eat. Fasting, we have this thing, it's a vitamin B3, it's NAD+. You can usually get the precursors, just go Google and look up NR or NMM, NAD+, and that is something that I think if I'm looking for something to improve my mitochondrial health, that is one of them. That is probably one of the better ones out there. We talk about genetics, runs in the families, but again, if I'm predisposed to Alzheimer's because this runs in my family, maybe I want to do those lifestyle choices that turn on the right genes and turn off the wrong genes. The alpha-synuclein, the plaques are like Alzheimer's diseases are actually called beta sheet-rich fibrils instead of what the Alzheimer's, you talk about taw tangles and what's the other one for Alzheimer's? Taw tangles and, well, sometimes that happens. But fibrillogenesis is the one that forms these clumps. In other words, I get these excess alpha-synuclein proteins that are dead, dying, misfolded, damaged, and they start building up. And these clumps are called Lewy bodies. And that's part of that problem. So when they start building up too much, my autophagy can't handle it. The immune system can't handle it. It overwhelms the neurons and kills them. So what do I have that can do that? Well, I do have some ability to reduce, inhibit, stop this overwhelming clumping of these alpha-synuclein clumps, proteins. Squalamine is one that's a capsule form, and I'm still trying to think of the one for it was there and gone. It'll come back. Epigallocatechin gallate, green tea. It's one of the dozen plus catechins that are available in green tea. Does a great job at inhibiting the alpha-synuclein. Oleuropein, that's olive oil, one of the main ingredients there. Vitamin B12. Now with B12, if you're not taking it under the tongue, it goes straight into the bloodstream because it's a cobalamin, and the cobalamin will not survive stomach acid. So it's got to get into your bloodstream. You have cyanocobalamin, which is usually found in most pills, worthless. Again, you take it as a pill and you swallow it, it's going to get in the stomach acid and not going anywhere. But if you take it under the tongue, it'll get into your bloodstream quickly. Turmeric, again, Use the piperine with the turmeric because that's one of the ones that will, in fact, increase its bioavailability. Ferulic acid, resveratrol, PQQ, the pyrroloquinone. These are all supplements that can be found online in pill form that will help you in fighting the Lewy body clumping that's occurring at the cell level. Chinese studies are pretty good. They actually correlated the quality of sleep to your gut health. And when you start having a gut microbiome that's really and truly stable and beneficial, you generally don't have any real problem with diseases, whether mental, physical, or otherwise. And so they recommend a microbiome analysis to say, okay, I need more of this, less of this, and they kind of adjust your diet and things. But they also found that people who drink a lot of coffee, tea, and cola, that caffeine has a tendency to downplay the risk of Parkinson's disease, which has doubled in the last 25 years. Niacin, you have a slow release niacin. You got 8 different B vitamins. I think vitamin B3 is niacin. But one of the niacins, you take it and immediately your whole body starts flushing out. You feel heat, you turn red. You definitely know that you took something. But they have a slow release niacin too, and that doesn't allow enough of it into the body immediately that causes that flushing. But they found that niacin has some level of control over Parkinson's, and so some studies there, something to talk to your doctor about. And again, if I have things, I want to make sure that I have a good quality of life. If I have disease, what can I do about it? A couple of years ago, they found that an eye test by looking inside the eye, and you can actually determine whether you have Parkinson's or not. I thought that was pretty fascinating, something I hadn't really come across before. Lots of data out there, but as always, consult professionals. Talk to your doctor about it. They may send you to a person who specializes in that. If you're taking medicines and you wanted to start doing something different, talk to your pharmacist. Sometimes your doctor's not always available to answer stuff, but walk into the pharmacy. Say, can you talk to the pharmacist for a couple of minutes? Tell them what you're on. Tell them that's what you're doing. See if there's any interaction between what you want to do and what you're taking. Now you can go talk to your doctor and have a much stronger opinion as to why you should or should not be doing this. But in everything that we do every day, the foods we eat, the exercises we choose to do or not do, the quality of the sleep we get, the stress that we manage, what we accept, what we get rid of, what we let go, all of those affect every aspect of our body. So if I understand what causes things to happen, and I understand that some of these lifestyle choices can inhibit some of those causes, then maybe I need to be eating more greens or more colored fruits and vegetables, or more quality fats, or more less of something or more something else. So it's part of the awareness and understanding the education that we provide on this program. I can avoid the triggers if I know that environmental toxins is going to make my Parkinson's worse. Maybe I need to go on a more clean diet, something that's much more organic. Maybe I need to cook foods a little differently. Lots of things I can do there. Ursodeoxycholic bile. It's something that's come up here recently. UCDA, great for mitochondrial health. They have these things, Parkinson's gloves, that basically are being used to treat tremors. Again, if you have Parkinson's, talk to your doctor about the gloves. They've been around now for more than a couple of years. We have low-level cellular inflammation. Well, our immune system, if left unchecked, is going to decline. Work on your immune system. That's something that we can always do. I can improve my gut health through my lifestyle choices. My gut health literally mimics my brain health, because if my gut health is bad, my brain health is probably going to be bad. There's a thing called the BRAC, 6 stages of Alzheimer's, goes through the vagus nerve. There's similar things thought of for Parkinson's. Might be a subject of information to talk to your doctor about. And that's about it. So as we're getting here to the end of the show, almost right at 40 minutes, I'm glad to see that. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye now.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.